Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Advanced Software Design course. So today I'm going to talk about the auditing of information systems. But before that, let me have a brief discussion on software testing part, which we have covered last time. Now, when it comes to software testing, it's a very important aspect of software development lifecycle. Because we want to make sure that whatever the system built, so in this software testing part is very important. As I told you earlier, once you have the software set it up, testing should be the usually we have to perform so that we can identify any issues of the expected system as well as what is observed system. So there are many testing strategies we will use: individual program module level unit tests, then integration testing, and when you put everything together, we call system testing. And then apart from that, there are other things like acceptance testing. So the testing is a tedious task. Doing it manually is not usually practical. Therefore, what we do is we try to automate the test. So unit testing, we can use it for integration, and also it has early detection, defect detection. And also it we have the individual component function and intended and seamlessly integrate with other models. Or moreover, automated regression and testing prevents introduction of errors or new followed or modification. Here are some examples: Selenium, Appium, Cypress for different frameworks. And for Java framework, there's a unit called JUnit. And after that, we have PyTest. And then we discussed about last time about the PyTest and PyDoc, which we will discuss. So automating, usually we can have a part of testing process, and we want to make sure that our scripts are reliable. So we need to appropriately select what test we can automate them. So we have looked at some sample last time on test automation. There I explained two methods of use of doc test and find. Right, look at this example. It's a simple function adding two numbers. We'll get numbers n1 and n2. And simply, we return n plus 1, n2. So in today's interactive session, we discuss how we develop something like this. And notice here that we will put them as kind of a comment, multi-line attribute, but this serves for different purpose. So whatever you enter between 3 rows and 3 columns, and we also list any arguments we are going to have, any returns. Example, we have add numbers 34, 67. Right now, let's look at how the testing happens. Now to test this, we have to use these two commands coming from doc test module, and it goes to all the examples in the document. If they match, then the test result shows like this. So usually doctest is not originally installed in your machine, so make sure that you add it, right? And when you do that, you can see here, there are two atoms. Atoms means we have two values here, and there's no failures, which I think it's a good point. The next one is actually we use a different framework. So in this different framework, what we do, we will write our function need to be tested, and we will have separate Python file we generate. So for example, here we are importing PyTest, and we are getting add numbers function from this, and then you perform test accuracies like this. Now that we have separated, you can directly check any errors. So here is a screenshot of what we expect. So when you go to your folder and you type PyTest, it will go through all the files start with Py, right? And it will right. Okay. I think let's move on to today's session then. Right. Okay, let's start. So in this part, we are going to talk about what we call the auditing. Now, when I say audit, that doesn't mean that, it's anything to do with this auditing as per se, but the idea is we can use this EDP auditing techniques, right? The system is what is supposed to do. So we can compare auditing for web application. Right. So the first thing about EDP auditing, EDP stands for electronic data processing. And this is ensure the system functionality as needed. Then importance of auditing web-based systems. Focus on responsive type, accessibility, security, and more. Right. Okay. So now usually when we talk about auditing, they recommend some external company consultancy. Main reason is they are neutral. So usually we start with unwaived accounts, right? And the next one is to start some auditing. You need to collect some already available documents. First one, application system design, which is a detailed description of how you have the application. Then the network diagram, how network arranged, and then staff hierarchy. Right, now let me show you some of the examples. Now, one reason could be when we say application design, you can actually look at, for example, data flow diagram, right? So here is an example from the book where it shows you the data flow diagram, which is application design, you might say. So you can see there are 6 use cases where we have external entities are participating. Right. The second one that you need is a network diagram. So the reason for network diagram is to understand what is happening here. So you can see here how the network diagram is set up. That is the second one. Third one, we have to look at the staff hierarchy. So that means how the hierarchy will be changed. So on top of this, we have project manager. Then we have administrator assistant. Then we have project leaders, hardware technician, finance, and software specialist. So you see the staff hierarchy. Right. Now that we have discussed these basic ideas, let's look at the system audit part. So in system audit, we basically aiming to identify response time. Response time, for example, when you make a a request, and how long it will take to get back to the answer. So we can also evaluate some network then you have to check the response with different scenarios, different values, different how users are impacting. And then we need to check for broken links using tools like Net Mechanic, where you can identify web link. And then we have performed database audit to identify query and classification errors. So we see some databases as well. And last one, product network audit to optimize response connectivity. One bottleneck or one of the issues right now we are having is on And then the third one, perform database audit to identify query and calculation errors. So there were some cases where the query execution time is higher, you can identify them. Then last one, conduct network audit to optimize resource and connectivity. Right, now let's look at security and quality. When we talk about the security and quality, we will have conduct top-level assessment of security, and then review security plan, authentication, authorization, and information registry. We will password policies and information for backgrounds. Ensure backgrounds are appropriate security and technical background. Examine external connections from data transmission. Something. So you can see that aiming at the security and the quality. Then we'll look at the product base. Now, when you use third-party software for security, then there could be pros and practicals. Then we have third point, access in-house development for potential programming loopholes. Right, we can identify proof easily. Consider utilizing the post method instead of get for sensitive data. Avoid the strong sensitive information ASP or JSP. So these words are again used to create. Next, we have additional audit considerations. First one, review the system documentation and change management procedures, which is one of the things that you can do. Then assess disaster recovery and business continuity plans. Evaluate system monitoring and logging practices. Check for compliance with the relevant regulations and standards. Provide recommendations for improvement of waste on monitoring findings. Right. To conclude this, what we need to discuss is regular audits are essential, and then we may have to get some external party involved in auditing. And then we can also audit web-based and conventional systems, and these help to fine-tune the system and identify areas of improvement. So now you can see, so auditing is a very systematic process that we are going to incorporate, especially in advanced software. In this particular case, as we discussed, we have to consider various aspects of the organization to start. Okay, that's all I have for EDP session. It's a very short one. And we have two more topics according to the syllabus to cover up, which I will take the next week. Until so, we'll stop for today.